Before we get started, I must acknowledge that I only play on PC, so I am not familiar with the controller layouts. So I had to go to the internet. If you see anything wrong when it comes to the controller buttons, it is the internet's fault. But please, if you could, leave a comment correcting the mistake and I will update the description of the video. Here we go. If for whatever reason you don't want to do high tier quests, you can always go back to the lower tier quests. Headshots are very important because they do the most damage. But for the mutated zombie, this is not his head. This is his head. You can see this for sure by going into the Twitch integration menu and activating big heads. Whoop. Oh, how cute. And this is how you get to the Twitch integration menu. Press F1, then type DM and then press enter. Then press F1 to get out of it. Then hold shift and press F6. There goes the Twitch integration menu. You can do this, you can do this, and a whole list of other things. The muzzle brake helps control recoil. If you need an infinite amount of clay, craft topsoil or dirt and dig it up. You'll get more clay back than you put in. You can get springs from wrenching beds, cars, and broken vending machines. Always be on the lookout for stumps, because when you break them, there is a 20% chance that they will give you honey, and you need honey to cure infections. But don't wait until you're infected to start looking for honey, because the honey only cures it up to 5%, and finding antibiotics early on is kinda difficult. Don't forget to loot the traders. It's nearly guaranteed that they will have Forge Ahead magazines. Raw eggs are safe to eat in a pinch. They give you 5 points of food. If you are desperately hungry or thirsty and have a sham sandwich and some murky water on you and a vitamin, take the vitamin and you can eat the sham sandwich and drink the murky water without getting diarrhea. But each sip and bite will cost you 5 HP. With Physician 1, splints and casts cure sprains instantly. With Physician 3, casts cure broken limbs instantly. Mark your bases and your mining areas on the map. You can now upgrade your storage boxes. Every time you upgrade it, you get more storage slots. Cops can't spit through scaffolding ladders. Roll-up doors are relatively cheap to craft and have 15,000 HP. They only cost 10 forged iron, 10 springs, and 10 mechanical parts, regardless of size. Remember to pick a color before placing. Keep this in mind, zombie pathing works on a grid, so when they're running towards you, they might make unexpected moves, which will cause you to miss a shot and get yourself hit. Screamers are a nuisance now in 1.0, but the cooldown on generating more heat has been raised from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. So if you have attracted screamers and you have killed them, you have a 15-minute grace period to make as much heat as you'd like. You have a 25% speed increase while walking diagonal, both backwards and forwards. It's good for avoiding zombies who start running after you hit them a couple of times. Barbed wire fences prevent zombies from going into rage mode, so if you have an elevated base, it is good to line the base of your base so they don't attack the foundation of your structure and collapse your base. Burnt zombies have an increased pain threshold, which means they're hard to stun. Hazmat zombies have a higher chance for infection. Zombie birds and dogs have a higher chance to cause critical damage. While flying the Gyrocopter, if you hold the pitch up and pitch down buttons at the same time, you'll barely use any fuel. Don't forget repair kits. You can stack drone storage mods. So much space. Solar panels are really hard to come by, so grab them if you see them. If you got the Dukes, and if you want, I don't know. If you sell Supercorn, it'll give you a lot of Dukes. Double dip. If you're about to start a quest, you can go through the entire POI, loot the whole thing, start the quest, and then do it all over again. Legendary parts have a 5% chance of dropping from clothing containers and piles. Savage Country is the best spot for legendary parts. Crack-a-Book is the best spot for, you guessed it, books. Cop cars. Damage the car until it has very low HP, and then ram it with any vehicle until the alarm goes off, and it will not spawn any enemies. Trader Joel's living quarters are locked, but it doesn't mean that you can't go in there. If you go upstairs to Joel, turn around, walk over to his fireplace, there you go. Now you can rob Joel. Keep in mind that a lot of quests have hidden stashes. Check sinks and toolboxes for a wrench. Remember to make backups of your saves, just in case a crash breaks one. If you're curious to check out an older version of the game, first, open up Steam, right-click on 7 Days to Die, go to Properties, go to Betas. On Beta Participation, click here, and you have access to all these alphas, going all the way back to Alpha 8.8. The problem is, the minute you launch one of these alphas, it will wipe the majority of your 1.0 keybinds. And then when you go back to 1.0, it'll also wipe the keybinds that you set up in the older alphas. To save the keybinds, if you would like to go back and forth between different versions of the game, open the 7 Days to Die launcher, click on the Tools tab, click on Open Settings. Windows is going to ask you, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Click yes. When it opens up the registry, look to the bottom left, you will see a highlighted 7 Days to Die folder. Right-click on that, click Export. Name it whatever you want. Right now, I have the keybinds and the sensitivity set for version 1.0, so I will save this as v1_keybinds. Click Save. I already have this saved, and I also have one saved for Alpha 21. I saved it to my desktop. Keybind save v1 A21 keybind save. So, if I want to now go back to Alpha 21 before I launch 7 Days to Die, I click on the registry file. Windows is going to ask if you want this app to change devices. Click yes. And then it's going to ask if you're sure you want to continue. Press yes. The keys and values contained in blah 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 have been successfully added to the registry. Now, the keybinds that I saved for Alpha 21 are set up. So all I have to do is launch Alpha 21 and I'm ready to go. If I then want to go back to version 1.0, I have to make sure the game is closed. Click on Keybind Save V1, allow, yes, okay. And we're done. Now I can play with the proper 1.0 sensitivity and keybinds. Let's say you're in a game and you've made this incredible building, house, castle, whatever, and you would love for that building to spawn in your new random generated worlds. You can actually save them as prefabs, even though you didn't make them in the prefab editor. Remember to mark supply drops before exiting a game, because once you exit the game, supply drops no longer show on your compass or a map, but they will not disappear from the world. That way, when you log back on, you can go get that supply drop. Or node map colors. Here's a weird one. Once creating a map, you can actually change the biome layout simply by changing the colors in this picture. Make sure you have no anti-aliasing on, because you need, look, you can see the jagged edges. And let's try to write our name in the snow. Did it work? I don't think so. Oh my God, there it is. I can't believe it. How silly is that? How silly is that? I cannot believe that's how this works. That's a weird one there. If you've gone far along in the game and you wish you had put your skill points in some other places, you can take care of that by drinking Grandpa's Fergit'n Elixir. It wipes all your skills and gives you all your points back, and you can put them wherever you'd like now. Wandering hordes have an increased chance to drop loot bags. Remember, Trader Rekt specializes in food. Jen, meds. Bob, cars and tools. You, guns and ammo.
Son of a bitch!
Joel, a goofy voice. I mean armor. As I said already, screamers are a real pain in the tuchus. If you're breaking things or mining, even with stone tools early in the game, there's a good chance that a screamer's gonna come. But you can reduce the heat by 50% by crouching while doing this. You can harvest explosive barrels without getting hurt. Remember, don't shoot them. Use melee. You can harvest green barrels for a chance of acid. Only the green barrels will give you a wrenching option. You can craft a wrench in your inventory. No workbench needed. You can scrap engines for 30 mechanical parts. Use a bone knife to harvest crops. It's way quicker and uses way less stamina. If you have radiators that you don't need and you want to sell them, scrap them into brass first. You'll get more dukes that way. These are all the things you can harvest to get forged steel. It doesn't matter what type of modifier you add to a tool or a weapon, it will increase damage by 10%. Except for silencers, unless you get the Urban Combat Completion bonus. If you would like to get rid of the new news screen, go into the game launcher. Go here, type this, and you will no longer get the news screen. If you'd like to skip the Fun Pimps intro, type this, and you will no longer see the Fun Pimps intro. If you want to move to a new house, but you put down farm plots, you can pick them up simply by breaking them. Here's a new one for 1.0. The Fireman's Almanac Volume 7 now has emergency driving, which reduces collision damage to vehicles. The new Wasteland Treasures Completion bonus will give you the ability to find more legendary parts. Here is the breakdown of difficulty. The only things that get affected by changing your difficulty is the amount of damage the player does, the amount of damage the enemy does, and the chance that zombies go into rage mode, meaning they start running after you hit them. At the lowest level, enemies do 50% damage, players do 200% damage, and there is a 0% chance that zombies will go into rage. On the hardest level, Insane, enemies do 250% damage, players only do 50% damage, and there is a 100% chance that zombies will go into rage. When driving a vehicle, it could be very annoying backing up and trying to maneuver properly. But if you press left click, it will change the steering mode to A and D instead of the mouse. That way, you can back up and maneuver with precision. Rotating blocks. You can rotate clockwise and also counterclockwise. So if you miss a position that you wanted the block to be in, instead of having to go all the way around, you can just press one button and you're back to where you wanted to be. Herbal antibiotics heal infection by this much, and full antibiotics heal infection by this much. In the beginning of the game, craft a bone knife as early as you can. You need 5 bones. You can get them from piles or animals. Place a storage box outside of a trader for storing barter items, like sugar butts and bartering gear, and unloading your loot. It will remove your encumbrance so you can go to the next quest without having to go back to your base. The daily quest limit is set to 4 by default, but you can make it unlimited in the settings. Do you think Rekt is too mean?
Just get the fuck out of here.
Well, you can turn on the profanity filter and he will be a little nicer.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Adding a water purifier mod to your helmet allows you to safely drink from all water sources. I even wrote a song about it. If you have a water purifier mod on your helmet, you can craft a bucket with 7 forged iron, fill it with water from any water source, and dump it in any hollow block or ditch. Loot mailboxes along the way for books, and mixers for Forge Ahead books. Dew collectors no longer need a water filter to be built and will collect jars of murky water by default, but you can add a water filter to them so they collect fresh water. Hunt at night. Deer now spawn after sunset.
Got him!
You can have 3 active land claim blocks going at one time. Mega Crush lasts for 6 real-world minutes, gives you 60 hydration points, increases your speed by 50%, increases stamina by 15%, and only costs 750 dukes. If you have enough of them, you can drink them and run and gun your way through an entire Horde night. No base needed. All consumables stack up to 3 times, meaning if you drink 3 Mega Crushes at once, the duration will be 18 minutes. Remember, Horde nights only last 15 minutes by default. Save canned foods as much as you can for recipes. But always eat these canned foods because they aren't ingredients for any recipe. They're just food. Don't forget about active vending machines if you're hungry or thirsty. Spaghetti gives the most food points and also the most health points out of any food. Don't sleep on the hobo stew. While it might not give you the most HP of all the food items, it does give a lot and is unlocked fairly early. Remember to loot kitchens in houses and in businesses/restaurants. They have an increased chance of giving you food books, cooking pots, and cooking grills. Also check barbecues for cooking grills as well. If you have a hard time finding pots and/or grills, do not hesitate to buy them from the traders. If you're flying around in a gyrocopter, remember to keep a ground vehicle in your pocket so you can cruise around once you land. Robotic turrets, such as the sledge turret and the junk turrets, will activate a Demolishes Explosivo button. But shotgun turrets, SMG turrets, blade traps, electrical traps, and dart traps will not activate the button. Cars and pass and gas crates have a higher chance of spawning vehicle adventure books. Completing the cop challenge will give you a crucible and 4 legendary parts as reward choices. The harder the biome, the better the loot. From least to most, it goes forest, burnt forest, desert, snow, wasteland. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. If you build a square platform that is 141 blocks by 141 blocks, you will basically nullify spawning because zombies can't spawn on player blocks and the distance. Ask Rooster Gold, that's what he told me. The maximum loot stage is 208. When firing an automatic ranged weapon, heat gets generated per click. So tap firing will increase heat faster than holding the trigger down and just spraying. Loot bags last for 20 minutes even after being opened. Also, the loot bag despawn timer pauses if you leave the area. Trader protection extends all the way up and all the way down, so don't waste your time trying to build over the trader or dig under the trader. The maximum build height, starting from bedrock, is 251 blocks. If you're having trouble finding beakers, check Trader Gen. The new lantern is more subtle than the old lantern. If you are not injured, birds that are just flying around in the environment will ignore you. But this is what happens when you are injured. They will attack. You want to be 2 blocks high, because then the zombies can't reach you, and you can do the damage. Just be careful they don't jump at you or start climbing on each other. Putting a hatch in a doorway makes for an excellent and safe fighting position. Just remember to keep repairing it. Painkillers are great in a pinch. They give you a lot of HP and they do it really fast. Just be wary that they will start to dehydrate you and there's a cooldown on how many you can take. They are a lot faster than bandages and first aid kits. It takes 30 seconds to complete the bandage, but with the painkiller, note, you can only take 1 at a time. You cannot use this item at this time. Inventory buttons. The first button here is the lock button. If there are things that you don't want to move out of your inventory, that you carry with you all the time, like ammo and healing and food, lock the slots. It'll also keep them from being sorted. So if I sort the container, it organizes everything by alphabetical order. That's not locked. The next button, if you click once, it'll move items to fill up existing container stacks. If you click twice, it'll create new stacks to move items. Watch. Once, it filled up the remaining things of the meat and the other items. Twice, pulled them all in. This button right here will take all, as long as it'll fit. This button right here will move all, as long as it's not locked. This is extremely helpful for sorting your inventory quickly into your storage. If you see stacks of wood, break them, because each hit will give you more wood than when you would hit a tree. 30, 60, 70, 100. Now let's go. I only got 70 from that tree and 100 from those stacks of wood. Also, the axe is a good melee weapon. And finally, if you are having a problem with the game or you would like to report a bug, what you need to do is grab the log file from the game where you encountered the issue. Go over to Pastebin. Create a link for it. Then go over to the 7 Days to Die official forums, go to the general support section, and post the link to your log and the issue or bug that you have encountered. And that's it. Bye.